What's going on, YouTube folks out there, Facebook friends? This is your boy Ottoman. This is the Hard Black Truth. And May the 18th, 2017. And the status quo remains and has remained and will probably continue to remain. And that is the unofficial rule that there is no law that a white person is bound to respect as it pertains to black individuals. Officer Betty Shelby was acquitted of all charges, or at least of all significant charges as it pertains to the death of the unarmed black deceased male Terrence Crutcher. We're not even charging these folks with murder anymore. We're not even trying to go for murder anymore. We're giving folks the benefit of the doubt and saying, okay, manslaughter. Manslaughter, which basically states that your actions, you knew better, and you knew that they were going to more than likely cause the death of an individual, and you carried out those actions anyway. And despite how justified you may have felt at the time, those actions were unwarranted. It may have been a mistake. It really doesn't matter. Manslaughter. And there's different levels to it, but it doesn't matter because Terrence Crutcher was black. And all that Officer Betty Shelby had to say was she feared for her life. Never mind that she was the only person who shot this man. There were several other individuals on the scene, but the only one who shot was Betty Shelby. And she will see no form of repercussions for that. She will see no consequence for that. My Facebook timeline, because I noticed everyone was posting about Empire this, Empire that, and this ruling came about in the middle of the night. Isn't that lovely? How black folks just love to sit there and hide their heads in the sand. They want to be entertained because entertainment is good. It's fun. You don't have to deal with so much when you're being entertained. Escapism. It's the reason why many of us smoke weed and drink alcohol. Escapism. This ruling comes in the middle of the night and nobody really gives a damn. So I made sure I posted something about it. And it was funny how I woke up this morning and I see several folks on my timeline talking about giving it to God. Let God do his thing. I mean, if there's nothing you can do about the situation, so give it to God. Really? Really? And folks don't realize how indoctrinated that we are. Folks don't realize how well trained we are. Where we use our own religion as a scapegoat for the shit that's taking place. This is some filthy shit that's taking place in our country right now. As our officials beat down the doors of other nations, take them over wholesale, bomb the hell out of them, and they hide that shit under the premise that, well, the leaders there were just bad people and they weren't treating their people right. They were gassing their people. Why can't we have... Before I run off up my mouth and someone tries to call me into an office, I have to be careful about what I say. I'll just say, imagine if another country decided to bomb us. Decided to bomb a police station, decided to do something like that, and they would say, well, this is because you guys aren't treating the black African Americans in your nation correctly. So we had to act. They would be viewed as terrorists, anarchists, all of the above. There would be nothing honorable about them using our plight as an excuse. Black folks, we are the only ones that can make a difference. We are the only ones that can make a change. And the only thing I can submit at this point is that we need to start figuring out ways for us to own and control our territories. And we need to start actually developing actual communities. I'm not saying that you cut yourself off from the rest of the world, but what I'm saying is that you insulate. We insulate ourselves as much as possible from having to partake in what the rest of this great nation has to offer. We need to be offering it ourselves to our own. And because there's just nothing. What form, what manner of recourse do we have where these people can literally kill us and there is nothing that we can do about it? They've been discussing that for months. People were playing video and talking all this stuff, and he reached in. She thought he reached in, or she thought he was in the act of reaching in. Really? For the purpose of what? Because he might pull out an imaginary gun that wasn't there? This is sick, people. This is sick that he could just be killed. He could be murdered in such form and fashion. Everyone else had out their tasers, and this woman brings out her pistol. She's ready to kill that individual. You know full well that they train those motherfuckers to kill you. They train you to shoot to kill. They don't train them to wound. They don't train them to do any of that shit. So whenever an officer pulls out their gun, if you are training these people to shoot to kill, shouldn't they have to answer for even just pulling their gun out of their holster? Because once you pull that gun, if you shoot it, it's a shot to end life. These folks are running roughshod over us with no repercussions. As far as I know, I mean, I don't recall seeing any article or anything that mentions her as former Officer Betty Shelby. So, and even if that were the case that they got rid of her, do you know that there are surrounding counties just lining up to have her? Not even for her to work out on the streets, but to just give her a desk job and a pat on her shoulder to say good job. This man, Terrence Crutcher, his life is gone, will never come back. Nothing that can be done will ever bring this man back. But you mean to tell me the one iota, the one scintilla of justice that he could have received, he will not? And that is the same story that so many black individuals face today. We literally, as black individuals, had to show a young, unarmed, 15-year-old straight-A student to get a specific police, whatever you want to call them, to actually fire the officer, to actually lock the officer up and press charges. Now, we all know that that's bullshit, and at the end of the day, they have turned how they handle police officers into a basic administrative set of actions where you press charges, you fire if need be, okay? You give them a bail low enough for them to bond out, and then you allow the sluggish-ass court system, because they're real sluggish when it comes to their own. You allow that sluggish-ass court system to play itself out. And if I'm hearing right, members of the jury were crying. Members of the jury were crying as the verdict was read. What the fuck is there for you to cry about? What are they instructing these jurors? What are they telling these individuals where you can get a jury of your quote-unquote own peers and none of them will stand up for your ass? A not guilty verdict? The same thing happened with Michael Schlager, man. They got that fruit bowl ass black individual. One of the only black people they got out there was old fruit bowl. Old slick hair fruit bowl. Sweet as the goddamn sugar itself. Come out there talking about there was nothing malicious. There was no malicious intent. There was no malicious intent in shooting someone in the back several times. What, I don't even want to tune in to hear the excuses or the line of reasonings, because the fact of the matter is you don't hear that shit when it comes to black folks. When black folks go out and commit a crime, you don't hear any of that shit. But they're never afforded those kind of thoughts. But if it's a white person killing a black individual, they feared for their life. That's all that ever needs to be said. So while y'all sit there and continue to talk about empire and be entertained, and you're going to go to church and pray, you realize yesterday was Wednesday. A lot of folks came from Bible study feeling good about the Lord, and they dropped that shit on you in the middle of the night. The same people that indoctrinated your ass into that Christian belief. And I say it that way. I too am a Christian, but I recognize the shit for what it is. You've been indoctrinated by a group of people to worship a certain way, to practice a certain way, to believe a certain way, to carry on a certain way, to hold certain specific doctrines and whatnot. They set up a culture where folks go to church on Sundays and Wednesdays. A lot of folks were at home, just sleeping, just went to bed from having a good Bible study, right? Slept like a baby. The love of Jesus is with me. And they dropped that verdict in the middle of the night. Literally dropped that verdict in the middle of the night. After most of you went to sleep. A lot of y'all waking up like, what in the hell? But that's the most you're going to say. That's the most you're going to do. Because hell, as black individuals, what else are we taught to do? This is why I get pissed off when it comes to folks who are supposed to be pro-black and they end up being politicians, or they end up working in those circles, we'll just say, and they want to talk about jobs. No. We need to be talking about ownership. We need to be talking about controlling our own stuff. This way, if an officer comes to our neck of the woods and they perform in such form or fashion, oh, you have to deal with the entire community at that point. And it doesn't matter who your judge is. It doesn't matter who your prosecutor is. It really doesn't matter, because you're in our community. So you have to deal with the shit that we got going on. But we can't even do that because we're too busy being entertained and fighting one another. God, I'm upset just thinking about that, man. They killed that man for no reason. They killed that man for no reason. They killed him for no... There was no reason for his death, yet there's no repercussion against the person who pulled the trigger. Tell me how that makes sense. You guys have a good one. This is your boy Lunyao 1. Peace.